Greetings, winners and pigs. This is the Watchful Pony, and welcome back to Watchful's Watchings. Merry Christmas, everyone! That's right, everyone, it's Christmas time. By far my favorite holiday of the friggin' year. The presents, the snow, the decorations, just, I love it all. And of course, I love all the friggin' specials that come out around this time. And of course, MOP has a few of them already, but I reviewed most of them. That is except for one, Heartswarming Eve, the very first Christmas special. And I figured it's only appropriate that I take a look at it for this Christmas season. So join me as I take a look at Heartswarming Eve. Our episode begins with the main six on the Exposition Express as they head to Canterlot, and immediately we actually are hit with a very nice atmosphere, which is something I really like about this episode. This episode just oozes Christmas. It feels like Christmas and looks like Christmas all over, even if it's not directly related to it. Not to mention the snow just looks really calm and peaceful. I mean, yeah, we've seen snow in winter wrap-up, but it was never like this. Honestly, this really does show the gap in animation quality between seasons 1 and 2. But in any case, the main six arrive in Canterlot for a play. For what, you might ask? The founding of Equestria. I'm not even joking, this episode is about the founding of Equestria and how it relates to Heartswarming Eve. Now that sounds legitimately great. We haven't seen the founding of Equestria yet, and we know very little about it. I also really like that it's really staged as a play so it can let the imagination run wild with what it looks like. And it really does do that because honestly, some plays wish they had this level of production quality, and we can clearly see it's not reflected in the actual play when they do cut back to it. I do really like that they add visual flair because that's something you would do during a play. You would imagine what the characters are going through and what environments they're in based on the crappy set designs. But the praise doesn't just stop there. I just really like the story in general. Like I said, it is very fascinating to see how Equestria was founded and the history behind it. It's also very nice to see Equestria was not always as united as it appeared, as all the races actually did bicker and complain at each other, which kinda makes sense when you think about it. I mean, why wouldn't there be prejudices in the past? I mean, yeah, we've all heard the Earth Pony Worst Race jokes and the Unicorn Master Race jokes, but let's be honest, that doesn't sound like that far off of a possibility. I mean, why wouldn't the other ponies resent unicorns for knowing magic? Why wouldn't the other ponies resent the Pegasi for knowing the weather? Why wouldn't they resent Earth ponies for knowing how to grow crops so well? It shows that even the most peaceful and humble of groups don't usually always start out that humble or peaceful. And the rest of the story is very beautifully held together by the main six and the characters they play. Now granted, a lot of them do play basically the same character, just slightly amped up, like Rainbow Dash being slightly more confrontational and angry, Chancellor Puddinghead being much more energetic than Pinkie Pie in some ways, you know, stuff like that. But at the same time, it is still fun to see all these different characters work off each other, as well as all the different comedy and confrontations that can come from that. And before you ask, my favorite in this episode is Chancellor Puddinghead. But while I like that this episode captures the warm feeling of the holidays, it also captures the cold isolation of it too. Near the end, we finally get introduced to the actual conflict creature of the episode, the Wendigos, which, as I discussed in a previous review, is a pun on Wendigos, which is basically a Native American folktale about cannibalism, and it is way too horrible for me to go any further than that because trust me, you don't want that. I do however kind of like the design of the Wendigos, ghosts like horses that bring winter whenever there's despair around. I do really like the idea even if it is a bad pun. And I suppose finally, as short as it is, I should talk about the song. It actually is a very nice carol-like song. I could actually totally see it being played as an actual legitimate Christmas carol. So after all that praising and all that stuff, you would think I'd love this episode, right? Not really, unfortunately, because it actually does have quite a few flaws. Some of them are minor, like the flag having Celestia and Luna even though they're nowhere in this episode. Some of them are a little more major but not deal breakers, like for example the Wendigos coming right the hell out of nowhere and getting a very brief introduction on where they come from. Again, it's not a deal breaker, but it just kind of feels like they shoehorned in these characters just because they had no idea how to actually end it and needed a conflict. I just felt that it would have been better if they had to persevere through the cold and learn to work with each other instead of just shoehorning in a creature that they have to overcome by being nice to each other. I don't know, that's just me honestly. But honestly, compared to all of them, my biggest problem with the entire episode is everything that's not revolving around the play. And I'm not necessarily talking about the cold opening with them arriving at Canterlot. No, that's kind of fine. I'm more talking about them getting ready for the play. What the hell happened to all these characters? I mean, seriously, this is literally like a good 5 minutes of just them bickering at each other. Look, it's not like I can't see what they're going for here. They're trying to connect the two to play in some way, shape, and form, but I don't believe this. I do not buy that any of these characters would act this petty and this out of nowhere and this jerkish. Unless this is meant to be a very meta, very subtle commentary on holiday stress, then yeah, no, I'm not buying this. The ending where they're out at the play is only slightly better because they don't bicker for as long, but that line about them embodying friendship kind of irks me the wrong way. I mean, I'm pretty sure we could figure that out. But honestly, despite that, it's not really enough to completely ruin the episode or make it bad for me. It's just kind of a major flaw for my myself. But despite those flaws, the finding of Equestria was still really nice. It was very nice to see a holiday setting in Equestria outside of winter wrap-up, and it really was cool to see all the characters work off each other for this, which is why I'm gonna give the episode a 3.5 out of 6. It's certainly more flawed than winter wrap-up, but I can at least say I was more entertained. But until next time guys, have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a kick-ass Kwanzaa, and a Festivus for the rest of us. See you guys next year. Time for this old Watchful ponies to rest up for the next year and recharge.
Yes, rest up, my dear Watchful. Rest up indeed, for soon, very soon, you will be resting forever, and so will the rest of the Rift. You may have been able to hold me back in your subconscious for some time, but not for long, for I have one little episode that'll bring the horrible memories all